If they don't have consistent power, they don't have consistent internet, all types of animals in the background making noise, traffic, children, other people in the house, is this actually going to work for this employee to work from home? Sometimes you need to make the mistakes to learn and figure out a better way to do something.
Our core value as a company is entrepreneurship.
When you're at a company that has thousands or tens of thousands of employees, it doesn't really matter how good of a job you do, you may not get noticed.
I'll take the risk. I'll take the financial risk. You then specialize on that idea or that project or that specialty, and it's a win-win for both.
Real interviews, real guests, no actors. Real talk, get prepared for Free Factor.
What's up? Scott DeVore here. This is the Free Factor podcast where we talk entrepreneurship, entertainment, sports to bring out mindset, leadership, things of value to help you in your journey to become better at your profession, your personal development. I have a special guest today, Jerry Dunn, Global One Strategies. Jerry, welcome to the show. How you been? Good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Absolutely. So I'm going to tell the story how we met. I was at a networking event with the National Association of Property Managers, and we, as DeVore Capital, I own a construction and real estate development company. My roofing division, one of my sales managers has been a member for a few years, and every year we get the opportunity to promote the company and like share a little bit about what we're doing. And I think you were promoting also the same day, and you own I would call it a virtual staffing company. Is that the right way to classify it?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. It's a virtual staffing, or BPO industry is the business process outsourcing industry. So that's what our company is.
And so you presented the same day that we did. I'm like, man, I need to talk to this guy because I had some experience with virtual staffing going back to 2018, 19 or so. And I'll tell this story real quick. I was a big fan of a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss. And I believe that was the first time I actually heard of the concept of hiring a VA, a virtual assistant. And if you're not familiar with the book, it was a game changer in the business section, bestseller. It might even still be a bestseller to this day. And the concept of the book that Tim Ferriss wrote was, instead of like thinking you have to work 80, 100 hours a week, to be successful, to make, to generate income, wealth. He kind of took that paradigm and flipped it over. And part of how to do that was basically outsourcing, task and this industry of virtual staffing. He was like one of the first people to really take it to like mainstream. So I read this book and I read about virtual staffing. He has I think there was other people in the book where they were also sharing their experience with it. And one of the names, I think it was Peter Drucker. Does that name sound familiar? I think he was like one of the OGs of going to like an international country where the wage rate is lower, creating staffing, like a staffing firm, and then providing that service to clients in other countries, US or, Western Europe or whatever. So I read this book and I get inspired. I'm like, you know what? I like this concept. I can go find a virtual assistant, and the country that seemed to be the best, because like India was one, and countries in South America, but the one where it seemed like a lot of people were going to find a virtual assistant was the Philippines. So I'm like, all right, Philippines, me being half Asian, my mom's from Vietnam, my stepmom's Filipino, she's from Manila. And I'm like, man, I got connection, I'm Asian, right? So I, typical fashion, try to bootstrap it and do it myself. I figure out the Indeed.com of the Philippines, called onlinejobs.ph, right? So I go there myself, I pay the subscription, $50 or whatever it was per month, and I get access to all these resumes, and then you can post jobs. So I post my own job, looking for a virtual assistant. So at the time, I was just looking for someone to help me on the real estate side of the company. And I am so perplexed at the wage rate. The very first person I hired, I paid $2 an hour.
Yeah, it's crazy.
$2 an hour. Now this is it wasn't like ages ago. This was like 2018, 19 or so. $2 an hour. I hired a part-time virtual assistant. I forget the name. The crazy thing with the Philippines, man, they got the craziest names because of all the different like other countries that have like had some influence either through colonialization or whatever. So the first guy I hired, $2 an hour, part time, virtual assistant, and he didn't last too long. I started to learn a lot of things about internet connection and the typhoons and stuff that like kind of come through, and he didn't last very long. Then I hired the next person. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get someone better. $3 an hour. So I hired my next assistant part time. I'm not working on part time. I'm not even working on full time either. $3 an hour. That lasts a little bit, and then looking for my next one, $4 an hour. Then I got a good one. I had a really good one. Still wasn't working full time. But what I realized through that is, for me, I wasn't really set up to really bring on like a new staff member into something that wasn't very structured. Like and I'm a lot more structured now, like in 2024 than I was back then. And it didn't really work out. It wasn't like that was the process was the candidates and the people were fine. I just did not have the right setup where I had someone who could supervise them and manage them and everything. Because a lot of people, they wanted to come into something that had structure. Like, hey, tell me what to do. Give me a SOP. Give me a checklist. Let me know what I need to do. And then they could just go in and operate. And I didn't have any of that stuff, for the staff that I was bringing on. So I eventually kind of, after the last person didn't work out, then I got away for like quite a few years. And as I've been staffing up my own company, now I have the majority of my staff now, live in person, W-2 in the office. I have some people who are 1099 who are sales. But as we expand it so much, and I'm looking to fill other like kind of functions that a virtual person could probably do, whether a financial bookkeeping role or an executive assistant. I'm like, I think that can be a virtual person, at least where I'm at now. And sure enough, I see you present. I'm like, oh man, I knew that there probably was companies that had a kind of a US presence who kind of also had their office, whether their staffing company was in the Philippines or if it was like in India or if it was in Venezuela or whatever. And then you just happened to be, local in Jacksonville. I'm like, oh man, I need to talk to this guy. So I think we just had a conversation where I got to know you. That was a long introduction, but man, you're an international businessman. You own a multinational company, Global One Strategies. I've already introduced you to the show, but man, why don't you tell me about the company? And really, I just want to know, how did it start that you ended up, getting into this type of business and starting the company?
Yeah, so everything you just said, we've been along for that journey too. So we know what it's like with the prices, the hourly wages going up over time, the demand for virtual staffing and employees and things like that. So we've been along for the ride, and everything you just said kind of rings a bell with us. Everything from the names that you have over there to the types of tasks they can do, all of that has been, we've learned a lot along the journey. So Global One Strategies started probably about 15 years ago now. And the way it started was my dad was in the outsourcing space. He was in the sales space his whole life, reselling telco products, AT&T, CenturyLink, products like that, selling them over the phone to U.S. business owners. And the way we sold them was over the phone and calling business owners, offering them telco services to support their businesses, better phone systems, higher quality internet speeds, things like that. So that's how it started. And I graduated college. I briefly worked for a company, Fidelity Investments, realized pretty quickly that that wasn't the path I wanted to, spend the rest of my life working in. So my dad and I decided, let's start outsourcing a new telco product that AT&T was selling at the time. And we started kind of finding call centers or outbound sales centers all around the world. We had centers in Central America, in the Caribbean, India, and the Philippines. We did that for a year or two pretty successfully. on and off, right? Centers would make sales, outbound phone calls. They would submit the orders to us. We had a couple admin people internally that were processing, submitting those orders, make sure they got installed, things like that. After a year or two of doing that, we said, why don't we try to do this internally? The Philippines seemed to be, out of all the places we were doing business, the best from a cost perspective, reliability, kind of the caliber of person you get for the money you're spending. So the Philippines was a top location of ours. And we opened up a small office in Manila. Started small, 5 people or so, selling AT&T over the phone. We were doing well with it. And when we brought it internal to our office, we could manage all of it at a higher level than outsourcing it to other partners. So brought it internally. We were in charge of everything from the lead generation to the scripts, to the sales, the installation, the whole process. And when we did it internally, we got to keep 100% of the commission, right? We paid our employees' salary. We got to keep 100% of the commission. So that's how it started. After a few years of doing that, we're growing pretty nicely. We started with 5 people. Before you know it, we're at 10, 15, 20. Then we're primarily only in the Philippines. We get up to maybe 50 people internally selling it on our payroll. And then we start brokering it to some of the other centers that want to do this for us. So we know other centers in the Philippines in our area where we could send our trainers and QA resources over to their center, train them on what to do, what the scripts look like, how to get the leads, and pay them a portion of the commission, and we keep the rest. So that was a great model for us. Then AT&T decided they wanted to change up their commission plan. And it was a real, punch in the stomach to us at the time. Commission plan gets changed with 30 days notice. Commissions drop by 80%. So all of a sudden, everything that was working and all the profits that were being made when you have 30 days to figure out what you're going to do, all of a sudden we were scrambling, right? We knew that with the commission dropping 80%, maybe 15 to 20% of our people that were doing it currently would be successful, right? Just looking at the numbers and saying, hey, if this guy used to get 20 sales a month and he got paid X, if he still gets 20 sales a month, but it's dropped by 80% the commission, is this team member still profitable? So that was a big inflection point kind of for our company. So at the time we were 90% outbound, 10% back office type work, administrative back office. We were trying to get more into that customer service, staffing for US businesses, that any job that could be done virtually. When AT&T made this change, that was kind of lit a fire under us we need to make this transition happen sooner. So that's kind of how we transitioned into this more of a virtual staffing, supporting businesses and not all in the outbound sales world. So we start making that transition. Part of the reason we wanted to make this transition was we realized that with outbound sales, everything you do relies on those sales being made, on the leads, on the commission you're getting for that. We're not adding more value over time. If you need to make sales, it's what'd you do for me yesterday? How many sales did you get yesterday? How many sales did you get today? We weren't adding more value over time. And a lot of what we did was in this sales space, even outside of the telco space, you're not adding more value over time versus these other customer service, administrative type roles. You are adding more value over time. When we start, a client trains us on 2 or 3 tasks they want to handle. After we get doing a good job with those, they add another task. And before you know it, a couple years down the road, we're handling 5 or 10 times more than what we started with. We're a much stronger value proposition to that company. Not only are they saving a lot of money on labor and those type of things, but now we're handling very significant roles for these companies. And that's kind of how the transition was made. The last 5 years or so have been great for us. 4 years or so. When COVID hit, a lot of the sales stuff was ramping down, right? Businesses were figuring out how they're going to make it. And so a lot of our sales stuff either paused or shut down. That was, another kind of inflection point for us where we said, all right, we need to put kind of the majority of our efforts into finding these clients who are looking for inbound customer service, administrative type tasks that can be done virtually. And that was going slowly. We were slowly adding clients in that space. And after we came out of COVID and businesses started to realize, well, I just had all of my staff working virtually for the last 3, 6, 12 months anyways. If they're working virtually here, why don't I hire someone to work virtually anywhere, right? So that's kind of how it got the ball rolling, and then, made that strong transition. And now, we're 4 years or so past COVID. Our business has been booming, and we are hiring new people every day. I interviewed 3 people this morning, right, for clients that are looking to hire. Everyone wants to hire right away. So that's kind of how the journey happened.
I am Will with DCRE, DeVore Capital Real Estate. We want to help you with your buying and selling real estate transactions. We know in the economy and the market that we have today, everybody is telling you that it is impossible to buy or to sell. We know that we can get the deal done. Give us a call at 844-4DeVore or hit the link below. Have a great day.
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal story. And I kind of fit right in there because I started out needing someone in finance, accounting, bookkeeping, and that went extremely well, extremely pleased. And what made it so great, I talked about the pain points from when I did it on my own, where I went to onlinejobs.ph, paid the monthly thing, created an account. What I love about what you guys do is not only do you put the ad out, we work together, you kind of had like a 99% framework of the ad. I looked at it, maybe tweaked a little bit to make it just more specific to my company. You put the ad out, you vet all the candidates yourselves, so I don't have to vet them. You then screen them, you do the initial interviews, then you bring qualified candidates like, hey, Scott, I think this is a good one. We've already screened it. Here's the background. You're kind of giving me all the information. Then we do a virtual interview that I'm a part of. And then I make a decision. Yeah, this is good. And, we've had a couple candidates for, that first position of a bookkeeper. And not only did I get a bookkeeper, but I almost feel like I get like 3 people for the price of 1. Now, it's a little bit more than when I was paying someone $2 an hour, but it's still significantly cheaper than for me to find a U.S. based talent here in the city, paying like the same, like the commensurate rate for it, a huge savings. But I get the staff member. I also get a supervisor who is basically there. They're not really supervising so much to make sure that they didn't like input a number wrong on a spreadsheet, but that they're there, that they show up on time, they're taking their breaks, taking their lunches, they have at their workstation, they have their phone or whatever. And then I also get your time. Man, I was so impressed with the very first person when we onboarded them that you were part of all the onboarding. Like you were there, and I don't know if you do this to everyone or if you just like me, I don't know. Like, hey man, I'm gonna help Scott out. But the fact that I had you, I had the supervisor, I had the staff member, onboarding, training, we record everything. So if they had to go back and review it, it's there. So like I said, I felt like I was like getting 3 people for the price of 1.
That's how we want to make our clients feel. The way we do it is we designed the service that we offer now based on a lot of those pain points that we had when we were outsourcing stuff to different centers around the world. We had all the pain points that you've kind of mentioned. Are they being managed properly? Are they showing up to work? Is their internet stable? Is their electricity stable? What do you do when you need to replace someone? Who's training them? All of these factors are what kind of brought us to our process that we have now. So you kind of highlighted on it, but our process now is we talk to a client who decides they want to hire a person to do X. We get a job description. We generally have these job descriptions pretty much tailored to what we think we're looking for. We present it to someone like you and say, hey, Scott, does this look good? And you, like you said, you make a tweak or two. Hey, yeah, overall, this looks pretty good. So our HR team gets that job ad posted. We go out to our market. We start our interviewing, screening process. Usually takes a couple weeks. We try to make sure we find a good fit. Then they start coming in and they go through a couple rounds of testing and screening. Then they get interviewed in person by someone from our HR team. If they pass those interviews, then they get interviewed by one of our managers. So one of, I'd say 5 managers or so will do an interview with them. If they pass that interview, I interview them. My interview is pretty quick, right? I mean, they already made it through the process. I'm just trying to be the final check. Hey, what's this person like? How good is their English from my point of view? What does their resume look like? I want to learn a little bit about them before I present them to someone like you. Then we present them. We're usually pretty confident. And someone we present, we probably have a 90+% chance that they're going to get hired, right? If I think they're a good fit, 9 times out of 10 or higher, the client says, yeah, this is a good person. We want them on the team. And then that's where the actual work starts. So we knew that over time, we made mistakes along the way. If we let a client train an employee, something may go wrong in the process, and then we're trying to figure out afterwards, hey, what happened? We knew this person was a good fit. What happened? Everyone trains differently. So we've learned that, there could be companies that have very detailed processes, super organized. This is what we want them to learn on day 1, 2, 5, 10, etc. We have other clients that have nothing, and they just say, hey, we want them to do this job. We don't know where to start. So then I made sure that when we train someone, we record it all on Zoom. So we have it for reference if we need it. I know that if I sit in on those initial training sessions along with one of my top managers, we're not going to miss the lesson. We're going to understand what's going on. And if we don't understand, we're going to ask, hey, Scott, you told us to do this. This doesn't make sense. Can you tell us a different way? Because if I don't understand it and one of my managers don't understand it, there's probably no way that the new team member is going to understand it. So that's how we developed our training and onboarding process. Was we want to sit in on those trainings. And like you and I did, I don't know, did I sit in on the first 5 trainings, 10 trainings, made sure that who we hired was doing a good job, up to speed. And then after a while, I don't need to be on those anymore because we already know, hey, we got this person 80, 90% of the way there. Scott's feeling comfortable, or the client is feeling comfortable with them. They can take it from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's also I would say misconception, but even though they're virtual to me, but they're not virtual to Global One Strategies. Like your staff comes to an office and works out of an office like any office, whether it was in the Philippines or here in the U.S. And that's what I loved about it as well. I don't know if that is something like your competitors do, or maybe just a handful, but I just thought that was, like, for me, that I was already sold that this is a very good way of doing it, just with the level of management, but then the fact that they actually come to an office, they're not working out of their bedroom in their own little, condo. Because I've had people who worked out of their bedroom in the condo, and I'm like zooming with them, like, yeah, don't probably not the best thing for me to see in your house, but is that unique for you guys, or is that a lot of other people do it the same way?
There's a lot of different models that people follow in our industry, but that's the model that we think works best. Is we have everyone come to an office. A lot of that has to do with some of those issues you've mentioned before. When you have people working from home, and listen, we have plenty of experience trying that and failing at that to realize 95% of our employees work from an office. But the Philippines, where our office is located, and the Philippines in general, the infrastructure is just not the same as here in the US. Internet can go down for multiple days at a time. Power can just go down. Things like that, where you try to figure out, is this actually going to work for this employee to work from home? If they don't have consistent power, they don't have consistent internet, they have all types of animals in the background making noise, traffic, children, other people in the house. It just doesn't necessarily work. It's not the office environment we're looking for. You can't manage them the same way you can manage them in the office. You can't do hands-on training, sit next to them for coaching. So the office is the way to go. Our office has 4 or 5 internet providers. The building has generator power, all of these things that are those redundancies in place to make sure, we have that 99%.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because when I did it, my first iteration, when I hired myself, like every week there was like a typhoon coming through, power knocked out. And it was just so spotty. So like just because I'm pretty You can ask the two ladies who you placed for me. I'm pretty random of like, I've gotten better of actually scheduling times when we're doing our meetups, but sometimes if there's like an issue, I'm on my computer, we use Google Workspace as our, for handling a lot of our business. And I message them, hey, you available to jump on a quick Google Meet so we can talk through, whatever it is. And boom, like they're just available. They're there. They're at their workstation. They're working. But the first iteration, man, I would do that, and they probably were taking a nap, because it's ironic because it's like exactly a 12-hour difference. When it's 1 p.m. here, it's like 1 a.m. over there, and it's a lifestyle choice to make, to like be completely reversed, to work those hours to support, especially if you're supporting a U.S. company. But man, just having the solid internet connection and power, I did not know initially how important that was until I started. I'm like, man, I'm paying these people, I'm paying them $2 an hour, but man, I can't even talk to them. Like, they're not even responding because they're telling me they don't have internet connection.
Yeah, and that's a challenge over there, the infrastructure. And for the few employees that we have that we do allow to work from home, we have them have 2 internets at their house, and we make sure that if their internet is down, they report to the office. So that's our one way to try to help them work from home if we make that exception, which we do for a couple people. If they've been with us for 5-7 years and they need to work from home for a week for some reason, that's fine. We know they have 2 internet providers. We provide the computer, so we know their technology is good and working. But what you mentioned about the cheaper labor that's available, that is, there's still a lot of companies that go for that. A lot of the smaller businesses are like, why would we hire someone from Global One for much more than if we can hire that person for $3 or $4 an hour direct? And, it depends on the business. Some of those $3 and $4 an hour people would be great and might do a great job. The benefits that you get from going with a company like ours is they're working from that office. They have those backups in place. You have management staff, and we do a lot of that interviewing, screening. There's a lot of additional pieces to the puzzle that we help solve that the value add makes it worth it.
I'm Scott DeVore with DeVore Capital Contracting, multi-service licensed construction company. We are a certified roofing and general contractor. We do everything from residential to commercial roofing and all other construction services. If you are a homeowner or a commercial building owner and you have any roofing needs, from repairs to replacements to tarping, please reach out to us at 844-4DeVore or at the link below.
Yeah. No, awesome. And I actually have a couple of people, one who grew up in the Philippines. He works for me. He's a staff accountant for me. And I knew this before, where he said, man, he's a CPA. He got a CPA in the Philippines, and he was just telling me how the school system in the Philippines is modeled exactly like the American school system. So they're getting pretty much the same level of education, so that a lot of them already speak English. Some speak it extremely well, especially those who have been kind of in this industry supporting either, U.S. or UK type of clients. And it's almost like, even though they're virtual and exactly 12 hours away, like the staff that I have now, instantly, anytime, like we it's just multiple times a day, we're like, either just chatting, because that's like kind of how most of us chat in the office, just through the Google chat. But like I said, at any time when we just need to jump on to a Google Meet, it's like, boom, like they're on, we talk about what we do, almost like they're just here, like in the next office next door, but they're 12 hours away.
That's the feel that that's what we're trying to deliver, right? We want them to feel like they're an extension of your office, working in the room right next door. It's 12 hours most of the year, 12 hours difference. When the daylight saving times hit, then all of a sudden it's a 13 hour difference, but 12 hours most of the year.
And then you guys even adjust it without, and I found out after the fact, and like, I really appreciate that service. It wasn't like, hey, I know we support you from, 9 a.m. to 6 or whatever, because of daylight, I don't want to change there, so they're only going to go from 8 to 5. It was none of that. You guys adjusted for me.
It's on the schedule. Your shift adjusts by an hour on this day every year, and it adjusts back, 6 months later, whenever those dates change.
And I'm going to say this, I don't know if it's just the the Filipino culture, but or it's because of the level of management that we get. Because some people who work 40 hours a week, they aren't working 40 hours a week, right? They're working, whatever. But man, just the fact that, hey, this is the start time, this is the end time. You get this much time for lunch, you get this much time for break. I mean, you truly get the value of someone working, a normal, 40-hour work schedule. And like I'm just selling all the benefits because I just been extremely impressed from day one, to the fact that I didn't, recently hired my second person through you, an executive assistant, also going extremely well. And I talked about some other things about some other type of positions, and you're definitely first on the list. If it doesn't have to be someone who's local, 100%, we would add that staff through you guys again. Let me ask you this. I know you said earlier you picked the Philippines because of a few factors, the cost and things like that. But is there more, was there more to it? Because I mean, how did you, I know you probably had, before you guys started the company, you had a little bit, but did you guys go to Manila? How did it all get started, get in the office going?
There was a lot of factors that went into it, but the primary two, I would say, are the English communication level of English comprehension, and the cost, right? So those were the two primary factors. Of course, there was tons of other factors. I've probably been to the Philippines 50 times, 70 times. I used to go 4 to 6 times a year. I've been going 4 to 6 times a year for the past 10 years. So we liked the Philippines. A little more to the story about how we started. We started in Manila. We were in Manila for a few years, and one of our top managers at the time said, hey, you should check out this city, Dumaguete. We flew down there. We loved the city, kind of a smaller town, not as big as Manila, not as busy as Manila, not as much traffic. And we were like, we need to start an office here. And we ended up moving down there, and 8 years later, that's our primary headquarters. We have about 70 employees or so there. We still have a presence in Manila, but 90% of our office is in Dumaguete. And even hitting on what you said before, part of what we've been doing the last three to 4 years is adding more skilled roles. So we have people on our team now that are engineers, that are helping design plans for homes and AC system ductwork and things like that. We have 3 or 4 CPAs on our team that are doing the books and things for property managers. So over time, we have went from kind of hiring that basic customer service, administrative type person to more skilled roles that you can hire and get that significant value from at just a fraction of what you would spend here. I don't know what a CPA cost here these days, but in the Philippines, it's probably a third to a sixth of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been there going back 10 years or so?
10.
What was that the reason why you went over there? Or did you have any other other than for business? Have you been to a country like the Philippines before, or was it strictly because you guys were starting the company and that's where you guys went?
Starting the company. That's primarily where we, I've been to India. We checked out some centers in India. The English caliber and the reception of the Indian accent in our culture isn't necessarily taken the same way as the little accent you hear from the Philippines. We visited a lot of centers in South America, Central America, the Caribbean. The price point in some of those other places wasn't comparable. So we felt like the value prop for Central America or the Caribbean was not the same as the Philippines. And the work ethic was a little bit different. So the work ethic in the Philippines is a very strong work ethic. Like you were saying before, people, if you hire good people, they tend to show up, put in that full 40 hours or more. They're not slacking off. They're not trying to get away with, clocking out 2 hours early on Friday because they want to go do something. So that just helped us make the decision, and we've been happy with it. We've been successful in the Philippines.
Yeah, awesome. No, I love the Philippines because my stepmom's from the Philippines. I wasn't really close with her but just having some ties with it, and then having some staff who were Filipino, and then you know finding you guys who staff people from there. So I felt like I probably, and I'm sure every company that has used you guys as a service has just had a really good onboarding. But I think just me being kind of Asian also helped with the connection. I don't know what the two ladies who work for me say about me behind my back to you. I don't know, like they're probably, man, this guy Scott, he's like crazy. He says the wildest things or whatever. Like, I don't know if I can, keep working with them. But no, I've thoroughly enjoyed the people that you guys have placed. Oh, were you gonna say something about that?
No, just good. We're glad that you're happy with it. It's not always successful, right? We've learned a lot along the way, made our mistakes, but it's made us stronger. So, it's you probably know this from running your own business too. Sometimes you need to make the mistakes to learn and figure out a better way to do something.
Oh, that's truth right there, man. I wish that wasn't the case, but that's probably more the case with me than the average entrepreneur. Let me ask you about your local U.S. staffing. Do you have any like staff here, or is it just like you kind of running it?
Just me here.
Wow, that's amazing.
I've considered hiring one person here to kind of try to take things off of my plate, but I haven't done it yet. And I can find such high quality people in the Philippines
right.
at a
to.
low cost that I haven't got to that point where I need to do that yet.
Is the company a U.S. company or is it?
We're both. We have a U.S. company. We're registered in the U.S. for 15 plus years now, and we have a Philippine company that we've had for a while. It's a lot different getting a company established in the Philippines. Here, it's a few clicks of a button online. Over there, it's weeks or months of work and legal and meetings. So it's a challenge over there, but we did it, and it's been smooth sailing since.
Awesome. I will say this. So after my first experience doing it myself, before I knew who you were, even knew you had your company, so my CPA, who's from the Philippines, I was telling him about, man, like, because he still has family over there. I was like, dude, we should start our own staffing company. And I'm talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, because his brother's still there. Like, reach out to your brother and tell him and everything. And then I just started looking at it because that's just the type of person. I'm just the entrepreneur in me. I look at everything like, how can I make money can I make money for this? Is this a good business for me to do? So my brain was processing it, but I elected not to do that just because of the other things I was pursuing. I just thought, man, it sounded, not that it sounded easy, it sounded doable, but when I really started thinking about it, to rely on someone, who knew somebody, someone local who knew somebody, and then to, take the risk of something I had no experience in. Like I didn't have the experience with you. I never worked in a call center. I never did, half the stuff that you did with your experience. But man, I think what you guys did is great. I want to know more of the pain points though of getting started. I mean, I know, you guys really in the last 4 years made the pivot, like providing that I forget how you phrased it, but the type of service of adding value over time. Did you guys ever doubt? I mean, I know you guys, probably having a customer initially that pays some pretty good compensation to the fact where they like, hey, we're probably paying too much. Let's reduce it by 80%. Like, what was like the initial, like when you guys got started, like what was the pain points and the experience of getting it off the ground?
So when we first got started, we already knew that this model of selling telco products over the phone worked. We had been doing it for years successfully using other employees, outsourced team members, like I said, from around the world. So we already knew the model worked. At the time, I don't remember exactly what we were paying out in commission, but let's say we were paying out 80 to 85% of every commission dollar we collected, we paid out. So we knew if we could keep 100% of that commission, all of a sudden we knew based on the price points and things like that, if we can make X amount per employee at a minimum, we know we can be profitable. So we knew before we started in the Philippines that this was going to work if we could hire the right people. We already had people in the Philippines doing it successfully. They weren't working for us. They were working for other companies, other BPO companies, call centers. So we knew it would be successful. Like I said, we started with 5 people in a small office. We made plenty of mistakes along the way. You know, you hire the wrong person, you hire the wrong manager, you lose people for 100 different reasons. People don't show up. We're in the business of managing people. So we need to keep people happy. We need to keep our clients happy, but most importantly, we need to keep our people, our employees happy. We need to provide good benefits. We need to pay people timely, do what we say, not micromanage. We just need to be a good employer. We've made countless mistakes, and the Philippines is such a pro-employee country that you don't realize some of the challenges you're going to face with a government that is so pro-employee. Here in the US, it's probably a pretty even split, right? I mean, the employer has a good amount of rights, the employee has a good amount of rights. In the Philippines, it's pretty much the employer is wrong until proven innocent, right? The employee is kind of in the position of strength with everything. And that took a little time getting used to. We're always trying to do the right thing. But as you make mistakes and you realize, oh, I should have done this way, this is gonna cost us legally. Oh, we did this wrong, this is gonna cost us here. Oh, we had this written in our employment contract, you're not allowed to have that. So we've made countless mistakes. We've paid fines. We've done a lot of things right. We've done plenty of things wrong that we corrected. We had to correct them in our processes, with our lawyers, with our handbook, employment contracts, pay schedules, everything. I mean, you might know this or not. The Philippines has something called a 13th month. So
I was familiar with that.
you got to pay the 13th month. It's the government decided that by December 24th every year, you need to pay them an extra month's salary that's due on that day or earlier. Little things like that take a little bit of time getting used to. We clearly have to build that into our pricing that we charge people. A lot of stuff like that over the last 10 years or so. We're in a pretty good spot today. We don't have as many of those situations. We still have stuff that comes up all the time that our employment contract is ever adjusting. Our contracts to clients are always having little tweaks here and there to adapt to new laws or new things we realized, hey, we should update this.
Yeah, that 13th month got me. So when I did it my first iteration, I hired someone in November, and she was like, oh, are you going to pay me my bonus, like an extra month's salary? Again, I'm paying like $3 an hour. So what's an extra month's salary? A few $100. Like it wasn't anything like, I'm like, what? I'm like, so she explains it to me. I'm like, well, you've only been here like a month. Like, why do I need to pay you an extra month for a thing? Like, yeah, maybe if you worked for me for a year.
She might have been trying to game the system there a little bit, because the way it works is if they've only been with you for a month, it's prorated. So it would have been how much you paid her, like multiplied by 1/12. That would have been her 13th month. But yeah, if you've had someone working for you all year, it's an extra month.
Okay, not there was no like, hey, you can prorate it. None of that.
So the real question is, did you pay it to her?
No.
And maybe that's why she left.
Probably.
I'm Scott DeVore with DeVore Capital. We are a multi-service construction, real estate, and development company. We do services from ground-up development to roofing services to real estate transactions. Reach out to us at 844-4DEVORE or at the website link below.
But oh man, what was I gonna say? Oh, what was the kind of what drove you to be an entrepreneur? Like, what's the story? Did it just happen? Like, or were you driven a certain way from your upbringing that wants you to do? Because like not a lot of people would do what you and your dad did.
I think it's a lot with my upbringing. My grandfather was a super entrepreneur. He was making money where money could be made at the time, switching kind of from industry to industry. He was a true pioneer of all types of entrepreneurship, businesses, starting businesses, selling them. He has some crazy stories, right? I mean, he's made millions of dollars, blown it all in a few months, and then been sleeping on our couch because he blew it all and spent it too fast. You know, his ups and downs are insane. My grandfather used to say if he died with more than a dime in his pocket, he messed up somewhere. So that was like his motto he lived by. So that's how it was brought up. I come from my dad's side is a pretty large family. There's 9 of them, 9 brothers and sisters, and all of them have at least 4 to 7 kids. So I have a ton of cousins. We've all been super competitive over the years. A lot of us are close in age. So there's always been kind of a competition type. A lot of us have that entrepreneurial type spirit in us. And, you know, when we were young, we were always doing little things here and there to make money. In college, I don't know if I call it luck or, you know, good timing, but I started a valet company while I was in college here in Jacksonville, ran a valet company at one location out at the beach. We were doing a good job there. I might have had 6 or 8 employees that worked for me. And then we had someone that asked us to open up a valet at another location and then another location. And before you know it, we had 4 or 5 locations around Jacksonville that we were doing valet for. Keep in mind, at the time, I'm 19, 20 years old. I'm kind of just winging it. You know, I'm working with these business owners, but I have a bunch of my college buddies that were all doing valet, and it was an amazing gig while I was in college. And that certainly helped, right? You learn, hey, this is how to run a business. You're starting to deal with employees and people not showing up and things like that. So there's always been an entrepreneurial type drive in me. And I think what truly sparked it was when I went and worked in the corporate world for 6 to 12 months, and I got to show up at this time, got to clock out at this time, someone kind of breathing down your neck all day. I was like, I can't do this for 30, 40 years. Let me go out there and figure out how to start something else that I care about. And that's how it all started.
Awesome. No, that's great, man, that you had like that, the kind of family kind of origin of being entrepreneurs and all that. Because not a lot of people kind of come from that background.
And that's the way my dad is too. My dad, he's been a role model of mine my whole life, right? My dad he's instilled kind of in myself and my brothers, my little sister, you can do what you want. And if you put in your best effort, you will succeed, right? And he has started all types of businesses over the years in different industries. Some succeeded, some didn't, but seeing him do those type of things and some of my aunts and uncles do those types of things, it was cool to see that, right? To see them start something and 5-10 years later, they've built something pretty incredible. So it's kind of just in I would say like our family DNA. And it's cool.
There's a little bit of that DNA kind of like on my dad's side, but not exactly the same. So my dad, I'll start with my granddad. So my granddad, he was a little bit of an entrepreneur. So my mom's from Vietnam, and my dad, he's just a white dude from Western Maryland. And when my parents were together, they both were like, my dad was a chef, and my mom, she could make the most amazing Vietnamese cuisine. So that's probably why I'm in Jacksonville, because my mom cooks for me every week, like egg rolls, pho, boom ba soup. I mean, you name it. She's making me like the most phenomenal food. And as a kid, I'm like, man, you guys need to start your own restaurant, right? Start a restaurant together. And unfortunately, it never happened. My parents divorced when I was 8. And my dad, he ended up remarrying a Filipino chick. And you know what happened? They started their own restaurant. And I didn't have a relationship with my dad, even though we lived in the same town. Even though I had like issues with my dad, it's just from him, like, like not being a good dad, the abandonment and everything. But I was actually proud that he actually did it. So they had 2 restaurants. Like they started one and then they started a second one later. But my granddad, before him, he was actually locally known as a float maker, like the floats you see in parades. He was a brilliant artist. And him and his new wife, not my grandmother, they had like a little kind of like a Party City type of shop. Like this is like in the 80s, like late 80s, early 90s, where that wasn't, especially in our home little small town, like there was no Party City type stuff. So they had that business. I think I kind of got a little bit of my entrepreneurial kind of spirit or, DNA from that, even though I didn't really have a relationship with any of them. It just was just kind of in the blood. So I thought that was pretty cool that your family and your dad and your granddad, and then, even the cousins and the aunts and uncles all come from that. Like my wife, on the other hand, even though there's like some entrepreneurial type people like on her dad's side, like some of them like got into roofing, and ironically I do roofing too, but she's not entrepreneurial at all. Like she's 100% very corporate minded, and like I'm the opposite. So it's funny how just opposites attract, because I'm a huge risk taker. I'm like, whatever, business, and she's like, man, wouldn't it just have been easier if you just worked a job? Like, yeah, it would have been easier, but man, like that's not what I want to do. I like the same thing. I don't want to work for the man.
And I
forever.
don't know about you, but like my wife is the same way, and I love what I do, and I take it in stride. You have the ups and the downs, but it's fun, it's rewarding, and it's a great feeling when you build something through all the tough up and downs, and you build something that's successful.
Absolutely.
It's a really rewarding feeling.
No doubt, man. I'm trying to be a game changer. I'm trying to do big things, and you can't do that. Not that it's impossible, but it's very few people who, you think about maybe some of the people like the tech companies out in, San Francisco, like the people who started with Gates and Jobs. Yeah, those guys, they were entrepreneurials, and a lot of those people spun off and did like their own like other companies. But for the average person who's working for someone else, who's kind of an entrepreneur inside, the opportunities are slim to almost none to be given an opportunity through that. And actually, it kind of makes me want to talk about like our core value as a company is entrepreneurship, because that's the type of person I am. I worked for $4 billion companies. So I was a 15-year corporate guy, and 2001 I graduated college, business management degree, got my MBA a couple years after that, and I worked for $4 billion companies for about 4 or 5 years, for each one, roughly average. And if any of those companies gave me the opportunity to kind of be an entrepreneur, to, think of something to help them grow, and they gave me some equity in it, I probably never would have felt like I had to go out on my own. But I knew that, and I yearned from that, and it was never an opportunity. So like what we do here at DeVore Capital, like we do that. We champion that. We're like, hey man, I love to hear what idea you have. This is what we do. We're a multi-service construction real estate development company. If you know something, have an idea that you think we can implement and integrate, I will let you do that, champion it, profit sharing, whatever we need to do that makes the most sense. Because I'll take the risk. I'll take the financial risk, all that stuff. You then specialize on that idea or that project or that specialty, and it's a win-win for both. So some companies are starting to do that now, but I still think it's just a small fraction who are actually doing it.
Yeah, and I mean the big companies, some of like the bigger companies, it's like people don't really even have the opportunity to do that, right? And a lot of these bigger companies, like I think in the smaller companies, less than a couple hundred employees, as you get smaller, I think it's a lot more of an opportunity, that people have more of an opportunity to kind of showcase who they are, add value, things like that. When you're at a company that has thousands or tens of thousands of employees, it doesn't really matter how good of a job you do, you may not get noticed, right? Some people will. Some people, and I don't want to say it's lucky, but right spot, right time. I have some friends, my brother, for example, right spot, right time, has had a great career. Other times you can have someone that puts in their all for 5, 10, 15 years, and maybe it's not the right spot, right time, and they don't have some of those same opportunities.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I have a similar brother too. We've ironically worked for 2 of the same companies, and he's very fortunate. I mean, he ended up getting into private equity like 10 years ago. He's made millions of dollars, very, very successful, but still doing it for someone else. It's different building your own thing. But last thing I want to talk about, man, Florida Panthers. You're from South Florida. Man, it's crazy that they're back in the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. How does that make you feel? You excited?
It's incredible. It's the best. It's the best feeling. I've been a Panthers fan my entire life. I've been watching them for 30 years, as long as they've been in existence. So we had a rough rough 20-year stretch there or so where we were kind of on the bottom of the map, and over the last 5 to 10 years we've become a true contender, and it's great. I mean, we're a threat now, so Edmonton better watch out.
So you're from down there. You said you grew up
Coral
pretty
Springs.
close.
I grew up in Coral Springs, and Florida Panther Stadium is 10, 15 minutes away from where I grew up, and I played hockey my whole life, so they practiced at the rink that my youth teams played at and things like that. So we've been Florida Panthers fans. Back in the day, we used to meet them every year when they would do like a meet the team, skate with them, play hockey. So it was, I'm a diehard Panthers fan through thick and thin. So yeah, we're pumped they're in the Stanley Cup, and hopefully this is the year that they take it.
What's your prediction? You think they're gonna win, and then if so, how many games?
You know, I'm biased. All right, so I think they're gonna win this year. I definitely do. I think last year we had a good run. I think they learned from it. I think the guys are hungry. They're hungry to win this cup. I don't want to be too cocky with it. I think that they're gonna take them in 5 games. Hopefully
okay.
4. Hopefully we don't even make it to any further. But I think they're gonna take it to Edmonton. We got a challenge up against us with some of Edmonton top guys in the league, but the Panthers have depth. We got our goalies playing great. Our defense is playing great, and we have a lot of threats up front. So we're a nasty team right now.
All right, man. You heard it. He's calling it in 5 Florida Panthers Stanley Cup
Let's go.
winners.
Let's go.
Man, this has been great. Jerry Dunn, Global One Strategies. How can people reach you, learn more about your company and services?
Yeah, they can reach me, globalOneStrategies.com. Jerry Dunn, phone number 754-368-4790. You can reach me anytime.
You on any social medias or anything?
Not much on the social media. I kind of got off the social media years ago, and I love not being involved in all the social media. I have a LinkedIn for business. I'm not on Facebook, Instagram, all those. I got rid of those about 10 years ago.
Awesome, man. Hit them up on LinkedIn or on the website. Check out the Free Factor podcast. Like, subscribe, share it, comment. Check out future episodes with other entrepreneurs like Jerry Dunn. We talk about business. We talk entertainment, sports. We bring in value to help you in your personal development journey, your entrepreneurial journey. So stay tuned for more episodes, and we'll see you next time.
Real interviews, real guests, no actors. Real talk, get prepared for Free Factor.